Okay. Fuck's sake. All right. Hey, everyone. This is Kate Compton. I'm here back on stream again. Still trying to figure out this whole streaming thing. It's super weird without being able to see an audience. Um, but yeah, today I'd like to introduce you to ArtBot.Club. This is what I've been working on as part of my grant through the Cross Foundation, the Center for Resources in Open Source Software. As part of the conditions of that grant, I'm actually going to be releasing everything I make open source. That includes the source code for ArtBot.Club, Tracery, Chancery, and everything else. So keep an eye on Galaxy Kate at GitHub, and you'll be able to basically clone my site and see how it works. Hello, Sprite Guard. Hey, Jonathan. Hello at Zynga. So yeah, sorry, also coming down with a little bit of a cold. But if y'all aren't aware, today is officially the start of both Proc Jam, which is the procedural generation jam that was originally run by Mike Cook and I think is now run by a loose conglomeration of procedural content folks. And that's a give or take 2-week jam, like very loosely organized jam where people quote unquote make things that make things. So I thought I would like to release ArtBot.Club for that. It's also the beginning of National Novel Generation Month. And National Novel Generation Month, I believe, was started by Darius Kazemi in give or take 2015. Somebody can check that. But National Novel Generation Month is a response to National Novel Writing Month with the idea that why should you actually write a novel when you can get a computer to do it for you? And so hopefully today on stream, I will show you a little bit of how to do that. And I'll also introduce you to ArtBot.Club, which is eventually going to be an exciting new social network for making and sharing bots. It's still heavily under construction, so I'll show you some of the things that you can do with it. Actually, let me just write myself notes for like what I should do during the stream. This is a good thing to do before stream, is write what you're doing. So let's see, I'll show you ArtBot.Club. I will, let's see, I'll show you some ArtBot.Club. I'll show you how to make to win National Novel Generation Month. Which there's a technique that I use in Tracery, and this will just show you like how the UI works. And I probably won't end up doing any live coding on stream unless there's an interest in it. I'm still working on like a lot of the saving loading features of the grammars, which is like obviously the most exciting part of a site where you can host grammars, is being able to host your grammars, and that part is broken at the moment. So if we have some time or interest, I'll show you a little bit about how I'm using Vue to build this big weird website. And yeah, feel free to ask any questions. This is like me learning how to build a social network. So if you've ever wanted to build a social network, feel free to ask questions. It's been easier than I thought and a lot more work than I'd hoped. So yeah, a little bit about ArtBot.Club. So the idea is that you have a site where I can sign out. So I can browse around different stuff. Let's see, make this a little larger. What is the language on the left? So yeah, this is these are generated grammars. This is kind of a silly thing that I do. A lot of I'm going to continue to like keep this over on the side and actually, yeah, sorry, I'm limited on real estate here, so I'm going to move this over so y'all can't see your own comments. How about like that? This is deeply difficult. Yay, now I think you mostly can't see your own comments. Let me know if that works out. So yeah, yeah, please do let me know how the stream is going. I don't have like a preview monitor or anything. All right, cool. Stream says it's all right. Yeah, so I don't know if y'all are familiar with Tracery, but Tracery is a language that I made in 2014, 2013, give or take, to do procedural text generation. And it looks like this. So it's got a bunch of symbols and outputs, and actually let's switch this to something that's a little clearer. So I'll go to my bunch of grammars that I can paste in. Okay, so this is my grammar. I have a bunch of symbols. Each symbol has a set of rules, and then some of the symbols are recursive. So they've got this little hashtag syntax. I can say adjective, adjective animal. Say what? Oops. Wow. Okay, I have broken something here. That's not cool. Oh, why is it changing the source each time? Oh, and then, gosh, editor change source. It shouldn't reload everything. Gosh, I'm really sorry. I was hoping to show off how to do nanogenmo stuff in the new thing. Yeah. So I was hoping to show off doing nanogenmo in my new user interface, but it's actually not working well enough to do that because every time I change the grammar, it's reloading my source code. Let's see if I can hack this to not do that, because I think this is a fairly new change that I screwed up. Okay, that is less unhappy, so this is fine. This is fine, we can make it work. I will fix things off stream. So yeah, yeah, sorry if there's lag in the stream. And sorry if this is just a giant trash fire of me developing a social network live on stream. But yeah, okay, so back to what I was talking about earlier. You can browse these different grammars. There's going to be Chancery eventually, but it's not there. And yeah, then you can edit this. It should live update with the right grammar, but this is bug. So yeah, so you've got the grammar over here. It generates over here. You can say upload, but I can't upload anything at the moment because I'm not signed in. Let's see, I can go back to browsing. So the idea is just that you can have lots of different cool things that are browsable. Like people can upload their own editor, can upload their own grammars. You can search for new grammars. So this is the detail view. I stole a bunch of tags off of Archive of Our Own just to get a sense of what kind of tags people might like. And so these are all procedurally generated grammars. I have a Tracery grammar that generates Tracery grammars. These are generating random languages and random bots that can say stuff, including having their own like custom utilities and making HTML stuff. So each of these grammars actually, all right. So each of these grammars is editable and is inspectable. It's just not updating the editor at the moment. So yeah, but we can see that each one of these does have a different one. So it generates exciting words like P. And And yeah, so these are all generated generators. I'm a big fan of test data. So like giving me, excuse me, giving myself really interesting test data to be able to test out how my UI is doing and how my editor is doing. So all of these users are generated people. These are not real. All these things, they have randomly selected images from Creative Commons, or not Creative Commons, public domain. They have sample text or sample descriptions that are just paragraphs from Project Gutenberg texts. But that allows me to test out things like, okay, maybe I want to search for all the games. So these are all the things that have been randomly tagged with games. I could say like, give me all the LGBTQ tagged ones. So there's that. Give me all the ones about weather. For technology. So this is all running on Firebase. So Firebase allows you to do interesting searches. Actually, let's do a quick jaunt on how Firebase works. So I've got all this data. I've uploaded a bunch of sample data to a server somewhere. How am I actually like hosting this data? If any of y'all have ever done backend stuff is really hard. I've tried to run node servers and it kind of deeply sucks. You have to figure out how to do node servers, how to serve web pages, do MongoDB. There's tools like Express, which make Node easier to use, but it's still really hard. Fortunately, in this project, I'm not actually doing any of that. I'm using a tool called Firebase. So let's look at Firebase for a moment. So Firebase is a tool that I believe was purchased by Google and has continued as a semi-independent thing. And Firebase, I am a huge fangirl of. All of their dev tools and all of their UI and all of their debug stuff and all their tutorials is so great. I have to rave at them for a while. So you can do authentication. You could say like, who do I want to be able to sign into my device or my app? So for example, if I click on sign in, you can see that I've got sign in with Google, sign in with email, and sign in with guest. And if I say like sign in with Google, it actually says, it pops up a little thing, and then hopefully I can sign into Google. So yeah, here are all of my exciting like debug accounts. I can choose that. It automatically logs me in. Yep, and now I'm logged in via Google. So how did that work? So you can set up different authentications here. So I can authenticate with email, password, Google. Facebook is not working. Facebook is not a friend of anybody. And anonymous, and you can also set it up so you can log in with Twitter and GitHub and Yahoo and all sorts of other stuff. And then I can just see like when my different users, people that I'm like very, very mildly doxing as having like once tested my app. So yeah, so that's my users, my sign-in methods. So yeah, I'll show you where the display name comes from in just a moment. So yeah, so that allows me to authenticate people. Then when I authenticate them, I can start adding them to a database structure. Come on, internet. Okay, here we go. So yeah, here are my collections. So these are all of my users. You can see I've got a couple of actual users here. Hi Isaac, hi Max, and then like my own ones, Galaxy Kate, and then a whole bunch of fake users with fake avatars. And then also I've got all these works that I've saved here. It's basically a big key value store with unique IDs. It's like matches a unique ID with some data, and that's all you have to do. Is like you can set things to that unique ID in this collection, and then set it to the data, and it just works. And it allows you to do lookup stuff. So I can here are all the rules for how to access things. Like you can read any user ID. So all the people who are users in my thing, the non-login information for them is readable. This is just what their display name and what their username is set to. And these are things that they have to like manually set, so it's not like slurping it automatically. You can write a new user if their request, or if the ID in their request is the same as the name that we're editing. So if you are logged in as user 57B, then you can edit user 57B's information. This is great. Like Firebase just does all this for you. It like makes it so that you can't change your user ID in the middle of a request. It's, I think, definitely harder to spoof than anything I could possibly write. And then similarly for all the works that I'm storing, you can read it if it's published. So any of the ones that are published are readable, so you can like just read anything. And you can create a new work if the work that you are requesting to write has an author ID that's the same as your ID. And you can update and delete a work if the resource that you're trying to update or delete it has an author ID that's the same as yours. So it keeps people from hopefully editing each other's stuff. Again, this is fairly simplistic stuff, but it's mostly secure. Firebase does a good job of, even if you're a complete lunkhead, mostly the worst thing that happens is that people can like edit each other's data and like run up your bill a bit. You can't actually, it's remarkably hard to, oh, my face cam is showing this stuff. Oh, let's make that smaller. Y'all don't actually need to see what I look like that much. God, I hate that. There we go. How about that? All right. Hopefully that's visible at least, so you can. These are the rules for allowing updates and deletes of works. So yeah, that is basically how you store stuff in Firestore. It's really easy, and for the most part, it's free until you get to big stuff. Yeah, a little bit about how you create a new user. So let's create a new. Let's log out. So I'm going to sign out, and actually let's switch over to my actual web page. So ArtBot.Club. So you can go to ArtBot.Club right now. I would not recommend writing any grammars on this just yet because it's still very much under construction, and I can't say that anything will be saved properly today. But you can still use it as an editor. So I can log out here. So I'm currently signed in under my Galaxy Kate email address, but I can say let's create a new account. Actually, let's not sign in with Google. And yes, I really should change this, get my HTTPS things that's secure. Sign in with email, and let's see if I can remember all of my test emails. This one at ArtBot.Club. Why is it on my first and last name? So I think this is just creating an account here. Oh yeah, and here we go. Here's I do not want to add that, but yeah, this is testbot1 bot. It has no profile image. It's used the first and last names that I gave it, and it's randomly assigned me a user ID. So I can go to my user profile. Is there a reason for asking for first and last name? I think that might be built into Firebase, and hopefully there's a way that I can just turn that off and just be like, yo, can you just give me a username instead? I think because email and password, it doesn't necessarily know what name you want attached to it, but I can change this to, my new username is bot1, and my display name is some cool bot maker, and then I can like randomly select, because I don't have image upload yet, I can randomly select from public domain images, and then I can hopefully save my profile data. So I have my own login. You can ignore this. This is a debug number here. So now if I sign out, I can sign back in. Testbot1. And yeah, so now I'm this cool bot maker again. So that's basically it for login stuff. I can show you all a little bit of the code for that. So we'll go to, let's see, dredge up where I've cut my code. And you'll have access to all of this when I open source it. So yeah, here's my IO file for all this. There's lots of stuff like save an entity. So I want to save an entity, and I can call this function from anywhere in my app. So let's save an entity that is of type work. I'll pass it in whatever I'm saving, so this is all the data from the work, and then like what to call back when you finish saving. This is there are what's called references for Firebase. So somewhere I've set io.ref. Yeah. So when I initialize my storage, you can do all sorts of fun things. You can say, hey, Firebase, is there already a token somewhere on the system that says that this user is already logged in? So this provides you with that sort of auto login magic, where you go back to a website and it notices that you still have an account there and it automatically logs you in. So if I like just go back here, it'll relog me in as cool bot maker. You can ignore that. Yeah, so I'm auto logged in again no matter how many times I refresh. I could say, hey, Firebase, give me a link to the Firestore, which is I can't help but make like Arrested Development, like it's a Firestore. So here's a reference to Firestore. I can use that to say, give me references to my collection of works and my collection of users, and then when I have that reference, then I can make all sorts of changes to those data stores. So now I'm back at save entity. So I can say, okay, here's my reference to whatever entity type I'm saving, so like whether I'm saving works or whatever. This is a little gotcha that is helpful to know. If you try to save anything with an undefined value to Firestore, it grumps at you. For some reason, it can't handle like if you tried to save this, it would complain. So what you do instead is, this is a hack that I found online for how to remove any undefined data. Use JSON stringify, because JSON stringify will ignore any undefined stuff, and then you do a JSON parse on that. This only works if you have a non-looping data structure. Oh, how well does the site work on mobile? Not at all at the moment. We can see how it works on mobile using that, and I don't know. I guess it maybe works on mobile. So you can at least, I guess, kind of browse stuff. I should definitely do something less bad with the layout. So you can try it out yourself on mobile and tell me what's going wrong with it. So switch off mobile here. Where was I? Oh yeah, so how to save stuff. So yeah, all this just says, like, if the entity already has a unique ID, which means it's been written to the cloud, then so if it's been written to the cloud already, why do other streamers make this look so easy to just like keep up banter? All right, so if it's been written to the cloud already, it's got a unique ID. Then for the document with that ID, set all of the data to be whatever my data is. Otherwise, add that data, and then when you get your reference back, it'll have an ID, so save that as the ID. So it's either like upload it to the site with its ID already in place, or upload it to the site, say I don't know what my ID should be, and then wait until it comes back and says it's been saved to this ID. So you're kind of registering it with the system. So yeah, that is pretty much Firebase and how ArtBot.Club deals with Firebase. There's a lot of like saving and loading stuff. Feel free to ask any other questions in stream. Now I'll just kind of do a really brief showing you how to win NanoGen mode, just because that's what I promised on stream. And hopefully this site will continue to get better over the course of the day. I have been working pretty hard, but it is slow going to get all the plumbing hooked up. So I can go to this. Let's see, I can edit this. I can steal my own grammars again. Okay, so now I've got my grammar. So this is not a very long National Novel Generation Month entry. It's only 2 words, and you're supposed to have 50,000 words. So how do we get more words? So one of the tricks that I like to do, which is not very common in Tracery, is you can use push-pop things. So if I wanted to say hashtag, or like my adjective, so save something to the value of my adjective, which is an adjective. So introspective cat was introspective. So this expands out this rule here, adjective, and saves it to a new rule. So it's kind of like invisibly saying, creating something here with the value of introspective. You get what I'm trying to type. So saves it up there. But this happens when the grammar runs. That allows you to do things like, oops, say my adjective animal was adjective, and then maybe I want to say set character. So often I'll have these rules, character. So here's a character, and when you run this rule, I want you to set up an adjective for this character, and I want you to set an animal for this character. I keep auto hitting save, despite the fact that that is not set up yet. So yeah, so now I can say let me just go ahead and override that save thing, otherwise it's going to drive me batty. Okay. And then how do I override save? So mounted. Just looking up how to override Control S. There we go. It's not telling me how to do it with Vue. All right, I'll just try to unlearn this this mental glitch and actually. How have I liked Vue for generative artsy things on the internet? It's mostly for so it's mostly for pushing around divs. Vue is for pushing around and filling divs. But it turns out you can do all sorts of stuff with that. So you can actually use Vue to make generative SVG art. So you just use your DOM that you're manipulating is, instead of being a DOM of text, it's a DOM of graphics. I'm going to run and grab my laptop charger really quick because OBS is sucking my battery. All right, sorry. Thank you for your patience. I realized that I was running a little low on juice. So yeah. So what was I talking about before? Let's see. Yeah, you can use Vue to fill in divs, push around divs. You can, as you saw last week, you can make an idle game with it. It would be really great for something that you just need like lots of nested divs. So like Orteel's nested would be really great in Vue. Will other generators be supported in the future or just Tracery? Yep, I'm going to be supporting Tracery, Chancery, which is my chatbot editor, and probably whatever weird other stuff I make with Tracery-like languages. I've got an idle games language I've been kicking around for a while. So I'll be adding new bot simulators as fast as I can write them once I've got the basic site up and running. I wanted to do it with like Tracery 1 just to like just have one plate spinning at a time. But back to winning National Novel Generation Month. So let's see, I've got setting a character. Renames my character. So you can see that I've got a character. I can name it. I can capitalize its name. So, yep. So now we've got a great children's novel thing, but it's still only about 7 words long, and we need it to be much longer. So you can use this set character, and you can add a remove character. So, oops, yeah, this will just be a thing. So pop off my adjective and pop off my character. I could say Sarah character went to the library. And opened a book. And now I'm going to set a new character. So that'll push a new character onto the stack. The book was about my car. The character who was my adjective. So now we have. So this is basically the 1001 Nights generator. You can make stories within stories within stories. So I have a character. I set that character. I tell a little story about them. I set a new character. I start telling a story about them. But maybe I want to go back to the original character. So I'm going to pop that character off. Remove character. And now if I say my character went, thought that was okay, cool. So now we have, we need a few more adjectives here. Let's see if we've got a good adjective source somewhere in here. All of my stuff is just harvested from all of my other stuff. Oops. Let's see. Copying a list of adjectives in the most boring way possible. That's enough. can I steal my colors too? This will just give me a little bit more to work with so I can see what's actually going on. This little JSON editor, by the way, is just something that you can download and use in JavaScript. So you can embed JSON editors in whatever you're building. It gets a little fussy with Vue, which is what was causing my issues earlier, where it will update something and then Vue will say, oh, you updated a thing, let me reload the entire editor, and it loses your place in the text. Okay, cool. Now we have some colors and some moods. So yeah, let's see if we can get, I'm going to save this someplace that's not that. All right, so now how do we make something that is long enough for National Novel Generation Month while doing the minimum possible amount of work? Well, one thing is we could say, so tell a story. This is, you set a character, they do something, and then you pop it off. So now my origin is just hashtag tell a story. I'm going to remove character once that character is read by the book. All right, so I can say tell a story. I can say tell another story, tell another story. So I can just do this, and thus each one of these, let's just generate one at a time. Now let's see how long this is. Are there plans to be able to write grammars in a separate file and upload rather than the web editor? So this web editor, you can copy paste stuff. So you can upload in that you can just paste stuff in whenever you want. So yeah, I'm currently only at 300 words, so it's not enough. So if I wanted to say like, no, this is fine, I want to save this out here. Oops, where did I put that? But I'm kind of tired of that one, and so I want to go to my pastable grammars. Wherever I put my paste grammars, there we go. And I would much rather look at this copy generation grammar. So I've just pasted that in. So that's as much as uploading has to happen, and that's why I really like JSON as an editing technique. It's, uploading, downloading, these are just copy paste. Like these are just text operations. They're nothing fancy. You don't have to get weird with stuff. You can paste grammars into tweets. It's fine. So yeah, let's go back to winning National Novel Generation Month. Are custom suffixes like capitalized supported? So I'll have the set that comes with the Tracery and Cheatbots done quick, so people can use the ones that they're familiar with. I'll be adding a bunch in Tracery too. These are something that like I've always kind of struggled with because it's like, what is the right set of suffixes to capture what people need to do? And I have not been adding new suffixes because every time you add a suffix, it kind of has to be supported for everything that would be able to use that. Like every time I add a suffix, people will write grammars that use that suffix, and then if something is able to run those grammars, then it'll need to support that suffix. At least, fortunately, when you are missing that function, so if I have capitalized in my grammar and my editor is not, or like my simulator does not use my simulator does not use capitalize, It just does dot capitalize, so it fails somewhat gracefully. All right, so back to winning NanoGenMo. Let's see if we can finish winning that by the time we're on the screen. So yeah, so I have origin character. Oh yeah, if you have suffixes that are custom, the trouble is how do I run that JavaScript code? And this is probably a ways out, but there are ways that I can sandbox code or verify that code is not interesting, or like that is not that code can't do bad things when you run it. So I could do eval, which just takes a text string and runs it as JavaScript, but that can get you into trouble, especially on sites where you have stuff talking to a backend. So I want to be careful about doing that and make sure that if I do eventually let people write their own suffixes and launch their own code, then I'm doing that in a way that's safe for everybody. Just stealing some more stuff. Let's see. Adding myself some like places and place adjectives, so that, like the things have some place to go. I do love this editor because it tells me where my JSON errors are, which is like the hardest part. You didn't put quotation marks around that. Stop. Okay. Now I could say like a location is a place adjective of stuff but how about place adjective place of stuff? So now I should be able to say went to location, which has a library. So dog went to the Eastern Room of Life, which had a library and opened a book. It was about that dog. Maybe the dog is, my character name should be more unique. What do I have? Ooh, I've got names. I have hipster names from my hipster chef generators. We'll steal those. All right, so now my character can be so now, yeah, Edie Cat, Kari Dog was crimson, went to the knowing sea of waves, had a book, it was about Edie the cat, evaluated the story, and we're done. Now I can make it recursive, so let's make it recursive so that we can win NanoGenMo in the 10 minutes remaining. Let's see, we've got some questions. Stochastic grammar can easily explode if there's non-terminals. Does Tracery deal well with that? What does it do? It stack overflows. And this is not a problem. Whatever. This is not, like, just crashing out is fine. It'll stack overflow, but as long as we generate enough of them, we should eventually get one that is long enough to win NanoGenMo and terminates in less than, like, Stack Overflow time. So it's not graceful, but it explodes in quite a sustainable manner. So let's see what happens. So I was at origin. Oh, right. I'll switch that to the tell story, where we set a character. So set a character, talk about them, they went to a library, remove the character at the end. So set a character, remove a character, go to location library, and then we're gonna, the book was about, let's see, when should we tell a new story? So, so tell a story. So if I just did this, it would not terminate. So let's see it not terminate. Save out this grammar first, just in case it non-terminates in an unpleasant way. Let's see. Oh, and I gotta replace this tell a story with that tell a story. All right, cool. Maximum call stack exceeded. This is fine. This is totally fine. Maximum call stack exceeded is something that I love HTML because it degrades so gracefully. Yeah. So HTML and JavaScript is a really wonderful set of languages. Despite being hideous, and in fact, because of being hideous, it is almost impossible to break the internet. You know that any chucklehead is going to start writing web pages, and many chuckleheads do, including this one, and eventually they will do something silly that will exceed the call stack size, and that's fine, and you don't want to like crash somebody's Chrome every time somebody does that, so it just like very gracefully says, oops, sorry, that thread is done now, and life goes on. So that's not a problem for us, but we should have some amount of like, tell a story can be this, but then maybe it's also, let's see, nothing much happened. So now we've got a 50% chance of nothing much happening in the story. So nothing much happened, nothing much happened. We can re-roll this. We can see that there's some number of stuff. So maybe we want something such that, like, some amount of stuff generates, let's see. So this has a 50% chance of terminating each time. If I give it another recursive one, another recursive option, like set character, remove the character, what are some other, oh, you can watch a movie. I went to the location theater where a movie was playing. So most of these should recurse too much. So let's see. So yeah, these are getting a little longer on average. Save this one out. We have some self-identified chuckleheads in the chat today. Let's see. Nothing much happened. Movie was playing. Oh, video games. Video games are good. Is there a way to say actually do this one clause 9 times out of 10? Yeah, actually, probably a good way to do that would be, I'm going to say recursive story. So this will be all the recursive rules here. So yeah, so everything but nothing much happened. So say terminal story. Recursive story. Let's see, there's a parse error here somewhere. Oh yeah. So I can say either tell me a recursive story, where we'll have a Stack Overflow, or tell me a terminal story. So okay, so this lets us kind of play with a little bit more sophistication, whether we're doing recursive or non-recursive stories. All right. So maybe now we want way more recursive stories than terminal stories. Oops. Copy all this. All right, we're starting to get longer and longer stories before they terminate. So yeah, this would be like one way to do that. Although this is every story recurses some number of oh right. So these stories aren't branching, but we could say for some of these stories, like for some of the recursive stories, we actually want you to double branch, so get twice as big. This should really blow out our call stack, but let's find out. So let's do a double recursive story. We'll go to the library and we'll read a book with 2 chapters. And see where I screwed this up. Parse error on line 16. Double recursive story. So they read a book in, let's see, in the story in chapter 1. As this, tell a story. And I can tell another story in the second chapter. So this should really blow out. Let's see, is it just so you can share with others storing copies of the code? Sorry, what was the question, Travis Smalley? Do more double recursive stories. That should help increase. Oop, didn't really like that. Oh, because it's now making something really big. All right, look at this. Let's see how many words we've got in this. Oh yeah, creating an account. Is it just so you can share stuff? Yeah, it's just so you can share and store your bots. This is one of the big motivating factors of ArtBot.Club is how much people like storing their stuff on Twitter. So like, I guess not storing it, but sharing it on Twitter. So I've made a cool bot. I want everybody in the world to see how cool my cool bot is. All right, this is definitely long enough for National Novel Generation Month. This is our one Tracery grammar. Yes, we have in fact made 200,000 words, which is ironically the length of my dissertation. So we wrote something the length of my dissertation in the last 10 minutes of this stream. So I could say if I thought that this was so back to why I made ArtBot.Club, if I thought this is a really cool thing to do, if I wanted to say, okay, here's my example of I will probably do this. This is my example of a national novel generation winning grammar. It's so good, but as you can see, it's not a super thrilling story. I think that y'all should use this technique to make your own national novel generation stories, but maybe with like plot or like cool generative swords or like weird events that the characters can get up to, or just like different coffees that they order wherever they go. I could upload this and say, here, everybody can like edit, share, play, remix this as you like, and then re-upload it, tag me back, say, like, here, this is based on, like, Kate's national novel generation grammar, and yeah, and then everybody else starts spinning off other stuff. This is largely based on what we saw with Spore Creature Creator. So the Spore Creature Creator had something called the Sporepedia, where you could upload your creations. People would, in fact, upload their creations, and then other people would take those and like run with them. And this happened especially with things that were difficult to make otherwise. So we had a couple of folks figure out how to glitch their character into asymmetry, which we had not designed for in the original Spore Creature Creator. So you can glitch your character into asymmetry and then start building asymmetrical creatures. People uploaded those, and then nobody else had to figure out how to do that glitch. They could just clone and re-edit and re-upload those creatures. So yeah, it's figuring out how to let people kind of teach and make memes for each other. How do you open other people's bots? This is actually just a bug. So if I go here and I it's unhappy because it's trying to generate another million-word novel. So if I click on the image, it'll load that, and then I can click on the edit button, and what it should do is it should load the source code of that bot. It's just not updating it at the moment, so I'll get that fixed as soon as possible. The goal is to at least get y'all something that you can edit, like do the full loop on. So you can already make a user login. I burnt all my time on like making the user login and letting you pick your own pictures. So you can edit the user login, or like you can log in, you can browse grammars, you can edit a grammar, you can change some stuff, you can re-upload it, and then you can see it appear and other people can see it. So like get that full loop working. The other goal is to also get the local storage back to working. Yeah, so it's stuff is just broken. I'm gonna spend the rest of the day working on getting it less broken, although I have a thing to go to it for, so I will do as much unbreaking as possible. But hopefully get people into a position where they can start like doing stuff for Prac Jam. And yeah, that's my stream. Everything is on fire, stuff is broken, and yet a surprising amount of stuff actually works. So I've shown you how to win National Novel Generation Month in under 10 minutes. So get out there and generate some novels, even if you have to use older versions of Tracery to do it. Hopefully this one will be available for you to use and share your horrible grammars soon. I'll release, and when it's done, I'll send out a tweet so y'all know that you can jump back in. All right, thanks y'all for visiting the stream. I'm super excited that this is a platform too. Hopefully it'll get a lot of student and classroom use, and just weird art people who want to make their stuff on Twitter but also want to be able to share their source code. The hope is to have it somewhere between Twitter and Glitch. So yeah, thanks for stopping by, and I'll close the stream out. So, ciao.